and you play in a band called Sing
Yeah.
Again Siren.
Mm.
So I've had a listen, and the music is right up my street. And obviously, the Jimmy Page uh, influences run through it. Um, but if somebody hasn't heard "Sing Again, Siren," how would you describe it to them, the music, and what are you trying to
We're
kind of
trying
create
to.
with them?
Well, I'd say that short answer is if Zeppelin were women. Um, Long answer is, it just, the goal with it is just sort of fun, powerful, retro rock kind of sound. And just playing with the influences we love, really. I mean, it's one of those things where when you're a band and you're all women, you have to kind of deal with a lot of the, oh, you're a girl band, what does that mean, what is that, that kind of rhetoric. And I think a lot of people expect us to be riot girl punk, and I love riot girl punk, it's great. It's very much not what we do. So it's, at the same time as this isn't something it's not necessarily a good thing that people say this, but we play a lot of shows where people come up and they go, well, didn't expect you to sound like that, because my playing's very much like, oh, I sound like a dad, really. It's very dad rock, which I am, happy to wave my dad rock banner high. So yeah, it's just solid kind of blues influenced old school rock, really. And we're a trio, so that
Yeah,
brings its own. But
and it,
and I sing in it, which was never my intention.
that's you singing.
Yeah, I'm the singer too.
Wow.
But I had never sung in my life before forming this band, but I just couldn't find anyone to sing. So I was like, fine, I'll do it. So that's all very new to me.
Wow, because it's quite a deep voice, isn't it? You're singing.
Yeah, I actually just, again, another sort of lockdown development is I finally started taking some singing lessons, because I was like, never done that in my life. And then I was just sort of racking my throat every time we did a show, because I had no idea what I was doing. And then just recently started taking some lessons, only to discover that I think my range is more similar to like a male tenor than anything else, is pretty much there. So that in itself is like learning how to use that. But I'm so new to the singing world. It's a new adventure.
Well, keep at it. It's great voice, very unique. Um,
Yeah,
and
probably.
it suits its music. And I take it Hattie Steele and Layla
Mhm.
Riley, they're also classic rock fans, Zeppelin fans.
Yeah, I think we're really eclectic as well, though. I mean, Layla has loads of influences from like punk and soul and pop. They both listen to like a great deal of pop music too. And then, Hattie, yeah, likes her classic rock, loves her Maiden. Um, we all love Iron Maiden.
Great
And
band.
yeah, love Iron Maiden a lot. Yeah, so we all listen to so much stuff, but it's kind of nice, because I think sometimes if you're playing with only people that really, really see eye to eye with you and have exactly the same taste, sometimes that stops you having new stuff coming in. I think it's good to play with people who are different in their influences and sort of meet in the middle there. But yeah.
And where and when did you all meet and the band start?
It was just a bit sort of old school in that I moved down here in, God, when was it? 4 years ago or something. I moved down to Newcastle, and I was just like desperate to get in a band, because where I'm from is like a really, really rural area of Scotland.
I know it, Huntley, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of
Yeah.
around there, in the northeast. So were not many musicians near me ever,
Mm.
which I think also influenced my sort of journey as a guitar player. Is I grew up in an area where there weren't many guitar players, really. There were a few at my school, but not that many. And so I moved down here, and I was just like, I want to get in a band, because it's not really something I'd been able to do before, because
Mm.
there weren't venues, there weren't, I'd played in pub bands, but not quite the same thing. And so I tried to sort of get in a few, and then had a few sort of, it's difficult when you don't know anyone yet,
Mm.
and then a few slightly icky sexist experiences with, trying to get in things. And then so I just basically threw a massive tantrum one day, and I was like, fine, I'll just form a girl band then, you know, if this is what I'm going to have to deal with. And so I did. So I just put out, just went old school, literally like put out an advert, was like, hey, I want some, you know, some ladies to play some rock music. And Hattie knew Layla before, so Hattie got in contact with me and just, yeah, went from there, really.
Great stuff. That's superb. And yeah, you know, it's really interesting, sort of like an all-female trio. It's unique, and crikey, you can all play, that's for sure, you know, and they sound great. So what recordings have you done? Because I've had a look. You've got a few singles out, EPs and things like that. I was listening to a few. Retrospective is so Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
The first time I was like, that's Jimmy.
It is.
Jimmy's playing. Time is a Trip. As soon as that opened up, I thought, good times, bad times.
Yeah, there's a lot
but
of...
then it shifted.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of... I think the Zeppelin influence really comes through. And the first single we ever put out, Kiss the Preacher, fine song, grand song, but I wrote that song before I'd even met Ian Layla, and when I didn't really know when I was just sort of trying to find members for a band, and I didn't know what that was going to look like, how many members we were going to end up having, because as basically nothing went to plan. So never intended to be a trio, never intended to be singing. I just wanted to be a lead guitarist and have a rhythm guitarist and a singer, and ended up doing all of that. So we put that out, and that was a really sort of fun one. And then Cast Away.
If I may, the Kiss the Preacher song, it's very different, or not very different, but it is different to the others in some respects, where the others you've got that very sort of classic rock influence, if you like. But Kiss the Preacher is really quite heavy. It's kind of going down that more heavier route, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's for a number of different reasons, really. I think whatever I'm writing at the time tends to slightly reflect what I'm listening to at the time. And I think when I wrote that, I was just, I don't know, I was going through a bit of a phase with trying some like heavier guitar playing. And I also, you know, hadn't played with the others yet. So that was kind of written with a different band in mind, in a way. I think it was written with having a rhythm guitar player in mind. It was written with having a different singer in mind, and maybe going for a slightly more like modern rock sound. And then the more I played, you know, music with the other two, I think I kind of found that ultimately I wanted to write music that made me happy to play, and I enjoyed playing. And so that always ends up just being going back to the roots of the music I love, really, for me. So the sort of classic rock inspired sound came out just more as we played together and found that's more how things were sitting. And yeah, just, and I think I prefer playing the more classic rock vibe stuff, to be honest. I like them both.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you certainly play it very well. So, and you're a guitar tutor as well.
Yeah, just started. Like I've been doing it for must be coming up to 3 or 4 weeks now. But it's definitely one of the best decisions I've made for my playing already. Can't recommend teaching enough for, you know, even if you're like a beginner, or as soon as you have a few chords on your belt, teach them to someone else and you'll know them so much better. But yeah, obviously with the pandemic and everything, all that stuff, well, I actually graduated during the first lockdown, so it was a bit like, okay, I've graduated, there is no work. And before lockdown, I'd started doing bits and pieces of sort of gig repping and whatever. So I was just like, you know, I need to kind of get working, and there's not much going on at the moment. And I was like, why have I never taught before? I think I was slightly skeptical that I'd like find pupils, but I have. and hope to find more. And it's been, I'm surprised by how much I actually love doing it. I mean, it's really great. It's so nice to see other people embark on this sort of journey of playing that's done so much for me in my life, you know. It's so nice to be able to be part of that with other people.
It's nice when you do give and you're able to give, and you know, it's a nice feeling. It's you know, when we give, we also receive, I think, as well.
Yeah, totally. You know? And it keeps your, as well, it just keeps your foundations so strong. You know, you have to really understand material in order to teach it. So it's just such a great exercise for me as a player. And yeah, I just really have genuinely been enjoying it. So I'm hoping that I can sort of up the pupil count over the next few months, and yeah, just get more into it.
That'll definitely happen. Out of that, I'm absolutely sure. So and how do you approach guitar lessons? What's how do you?
My first lesson is always sort of half a lesson, half a almost like consultation in a way, because I think having received both music lessons, because with piano I was like classically trained, which was not really the world for me, let's just say, the whole classical tuition thing. So I have experience of being taught, and then I also have experience of teaching myself. So I kind of know which bits are the good bits and the bad bits of each. So first of all, I just like to ask people what music they love. You know, it's like, where do you want to play? Because there's no right way to be a guitar player, right? So if somebody's end goal is just, I don't know, I want to play B.B. King solos, then it's like, cool, let's do that. You know, whereas, you know, some people have a more versatile end goal in mind. They just want to be an all-round player. Some people, you know, just want to be able to play 4 chords and sing some songs, and that's cool too. So getting to know what's actually going to excite people about the guitar is like step one. I'm going with that. And then the other sort of key approach that I have to teaching is just teach people the things that I wish I knew soon. And the big one is just learning the notes on the fretboard. So many guitar players don't do that for such a long time. I'm still getting, you know, more clued up with it, to be honest. And so really early on, I like to include the kind of music theory that's so much more of just a drag to try and learn later, you know. So I like to give people like a strong foundation of not just playing, but understanding why and what they're playing. But yeah, just making it fun, really. It's
got to be fun. I remember when I was at school and there was the music teacher trying to teach us how to play the EastEnders theme on a glockenspiel. Now I can tell you that wasn't a huge draw for like an early teens guy. If someone had said, right, okay, this is Jimi Hendrix, I'd have been, whoa. Probably my best ever music lesson was I went to, my friend had moved, well, he was a next door neighbor and he moved to the end of town, and I went to go and visit him. And I remember now, and we went, we were playing some of his dad's vinyl. It's dad's again, isn't it? The influencing. And he put on this album by Eric Clapton called Behind the Sun. And I'd never heard it before. And I remember saying to Simon, I said, who's this? What's this music? Who is it? And he said, it's Eric Clapton. And I remember asking, I said, who's Eric Clapton?
Yeah.
And he said, Eric Clapton's probably one of the greatest guitarists in the world. And that was the moment for me. I had to find out about this guy called Eric Clapton.
For me, it was actually Sticky Fingers by the Rolling Stones. Before I sort of discovered my deep love for Zeppelin, definitely went, Stones are like a very close band to my heart. So yeah, I think listening to Brown Sugar and then, you know, promptly discovering that they were in open G tuning and being a complete beginner and being like, I'm going to tune to open G all the time. I'll be great. So that was a phase. But yeah, discovering the music you actually love massively helps, because I wouldn't have considered myself particularly musical at all before I actually found the music I enjoyed. Yes, I played classical piano, and you know, I like classical music. I, you know, I've got a degree in it, but you know, I sort of listened to. I wouldn't have considered myself a real music fan, a real muso. You know, I liked music and danced to it, you know, whatever, like anyone. But it wasn't until I actually found the music I really loved, I was like, okay, I want to be a musician. Not great to wait until you're 16 to make that decision, because you have to do a lot of catch-up work, but here we are. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting you saying about your how you approach your guitar lessons, and again going back to my first guitar lesson, and it's again finding that interest, finding that spark that whoever you're teaching it's going to keep it. It's the momentum, isn't it? And finding
what's really funny is I literally have in front of me here the first thing I ever did on guitar, which was just go through this book.
Wow.
Like the whole of this. I have it because I'm using it for a few students at the moment, but these are again my dad's. But obviously I began with, it's funny, both my instruments I sort of began to learn by mistake. With piano, my sister got lessons, and then her piano teacher was like, why don't you come along for a lesson? I was like, all right. And then ended up doing that for about 10 years. And then with guitar as well, my sister was like, who doesn't play instruments anymore, was like, learn a song out of this with me. I was like, if I must. And then here I am. But yeah, I just went through, because I'm a huge Elvis fan, so I just literally went through this book with an acoustic guitar, and then I started. So
when you do a gig and somebody comes up and says, can you play some Elvis, you're fine.
Well,
I know it.
See if I remember any of them, but yeah. Maybe I'll revisit it, go through all of them again.
I'm just going to take a moment, and if I may, and if I can find it. There we go. You mentioned your first music book, and that was mine. That was my first music book.
Nice.
Ages ago, years ago.
Yeah. I don't know what my first piano book was. That would be a good question, but
fifth root bar chords. So I was learning those. Easy. So the Commodore song Easy, I was learning that. Badge by Eric Clapton. But even Wonderful Tonight. And I remember the guitar instructor saying to me, what kind of music do you like? And I said, I'm an Eric Clapton freak. And he says, right, we're going to learn how to play Wonderful Tonight. And I was like, no way. He goes, yeah, we're going to do it. And then we got there, and I was just gobsmacked, you know, that you get yourself through it.
Yeah, and I think even when it comes to like teaching people scales or something, you know, if I'm teaching pentatonic, I would rather they put on, you know, I'll give them a reference point, a song that they know that's in the appropriate key. And I'll be like, when you practice your scales, play them over the top of this song. You're going to feel like you're playing music quicker. And also it's those like foundations of improvising, you know, if you want to play blues or rock solos, all it really is knowing all these typically pentatonic, although, you know, most people get into diatonic later, pentatonic box shapes. You begin by playing them up and down, and then sort of messing with it a little bit and messing with it more and more and more. So if I can just get people sort of hearing how these things go over one another, or even if I'm teaching chord changes, you know, because teaching a few pupils their G chord and their F chord the other day. So I was like, okay, I could just say, learn your G and your F. But I was like, hey, let's do Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. That's only 2 chords, G and F. Okay, there are some extensions in it, but I was like, don't worry about that now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so much better to learn concepts in context.
Absolutely.
You know, you want to be playing music as soon as possible rather than just exercise.
Absolutely.